Welcome to my beautiful guests. So glad you're here for the first time. And I think I'm going to start before even my joke, because I know if I don't tell my joke, certain people will never come back. They come for the joke, I know that. But I do want to recognize that we've got a very special day coming up, and it's not my birthday, just in case you're wondering. It's June 19th, which is Juneteenth, and that's a very, very special day. It's a federal holiday now. And I was just looking up a little more that I understood it. And on June 19th in 1865, in Texas, Major General Gordon Granger signed or brought the Declaration of Independence and signed it to obviously stop slavery, stop those in servitude. And then that following December, it was brought before Congress, and I just get the chills. It really is so moving. The 13th Amendment came into being. So we're free, all of us. And thank God, as Dr. King said, praise God Almighty, we're free again. And that's the truth, isn't it? We're free again. Praise God Almighty. So, okay. Okay, a joke. So a minister comes to his office one morning, and there's a dead donkey in the premises, right in front of his office. So he calls the health department. The health department says, there's absolutely nothing we can do about it. He said, call the mayor. Well, the mayor was known to have a very, what would we say, spiky disposition, not a very nice disposition. He was unkind to everybody. So the minister calls him, and he said, I've been told to call you because we have a dead donkey here. And the mayor says, why would you bother me with such a trivial thing? He said, you're the minister. He said, you figure it out. That's your job to bury the dead. And the minister said, I just got centered. I asked God for the right words. And I said, yes, Your Honor, you are right. But my first job is to notify the next of kin. Okay. So after that beautiful song, just once again, let's breathe in, how great thou art. And that greatness is your greatness, and it's my greatness, isn't it? Because there's one life. I want to thank Trey, Sarah, Troy, for everything you do, to Ryan back there, just thank you so much. And for everybody that puts this service together, I'm very grateful. And we'll never know the amount of work Reverend Doug puts into all of this. So thank you. Thank you. Okay, so we did our joke. Oftentimes when we're little, I don't know about you, but it certainly happened in my life many times. What do you want to be when you grow up? Well, I remember some years back, one of my older grandson is always just a little bit brilliant. He graduated from USC, but he just goes to a different drummer. So it was parents' night, and all of the kids, they asked, what do you want to be when you grow up? Well, some said, I want to be a doctor. I want to be a teacher. Oh, I'm going to be a nurse. Or I'll be an engineer like my dad is. So, of course, my son Dan is wondering what he's going to say. And Trey said, well, I want to be the one that comes out every Christmas and decorates all the Christmas lights. And it wasn't what my son expected. But anyway, Trey did not decide to do all the Christmas lights. He did something else. But it was kind of sweet. Anyway, are we predestined? Good question. Do we have a choice? I think in some countries, not that they are predestined, but because of the laws in the country, they are in a caste system. We might have said that with slavery. It was a caste system. You couldn't get out of it. We couldn't get out of it. Not in America. We can do whatever we want to do. And it's not a matter of what we do. It is a matter of how we do it and what's underneath. Mark, I didn't mention you. Mark was at the door today. Thank you very much. I want to read something that a great Unity minister wrote. His name was Eric Butterworth. He said, within the teaching of unity, framing it is a misunderstanding within the teachings of unity, framing predestination is a misunderstanding of divine law and human freedom. He said he emphasized that spiritual growth comes from realizing one's innate divinity rather than accepting a predetermined fate. So it's recognizing our destiny. What does it really matter what we do? Doctor, lawyer, Indian chief, teacher, but how often people burn out from that. I have had so many different friends, whether it's a teacher, a doctor, nurse, whatever it is, say, I'm tired. I just don't want to do this anymore. I'm exhausted from it. And so when we look underneath that, because they have lost the reason why they're doing it. They have become a doctor or a nurse or a teacher with these great ambitions, and life wears them down, because life has a way of doing that, doesn't it? However, if the teacher keeps in mind that every time she enters that school building, she is entering a building with tomorrow inside. And what a difference that makes. No matter the behavior of the children, that teacher, beyond teaching them the subject, can look at each child behind the behavior and see the good in that child and change their life. So it's not a matter of what our vocation is. It is a matter of what we believe is under that. What is my purpose for doing this? And when we lose that, I remember a brilliant radiologist once said to me, I made such a terrible mistake, and he wanted to do this all of his life. He said, I made such a mistake, I'm so tired of reading CAT scans and this and that. And I said, well, have you looked at it from a different point of view? I said, have you looked at it that with every X-ray or CT scan that you read, whatever, you get to be a blessing to those people. You get to be a high watch rather than, yes, this is what's wrong with them, or this is what I see, but I'm going to see something higher and I'm going to see their health. I'm going to go for a higher purpose because that's what we're here for. We've got this level of thinking, which is the human level, but we are called to look beyond that. Why am I doing this? What is my purpose? The first two unity principles are, there is only one life. I'm paraphrasing this a bit. One life, one activity taking place. That is the activity of God. And that is not just a religious thing anymore. The scientists are proving what religion has always said. And scientists are proving it faster than religion, by the way. So there's this one activity going around on. And that activity, if it's everywhere present, that means that activity is your life and it's my life. We have a spark of that divine within each one of us, which means that we are just not plopped down here to live a life, be bored with it, and thank God we can retire so we can be bored some more and then die. Well, that's not the purpose. If we can go underneath, if we can put ourselves or anchor ourselves in a spiritual understanding that no matter what I am doing, if I'm retired, do I sit and watch TV and drink beer all day? Doesn't sound very good, does it? However, or I can think, what good can I do from this? Who can I call today? If I go to the store, who can I give an uplifting message to? Say they look lovely, say anything kind. And when we do that, we watch people's energy change. We become energy changers because what we're doing is we are expressing a higher purpose for our being there. We can go shopping and, oh, the prices are this. We can complain. That's not what we're here for. We are not here to complain. We are here to express the glory of God as our life. Well, I'm going to get to a different point, so that's not, I'm going to talk about something else. Just bear with me for a minute. There's a story of a cathedral. Many of you heard this many years ago, thousands of years ago, really. They were building a magnificent cathedral in Paris. And one of the laborers said every day, how I hate this job. I can't wait to get home. I can't wait till it's over. The other worker just beamed with happiness and joy, because what he knew is with every brick he laid, he was building a cathedral. And isn't that our job too? Because we can just go to work and think, God, I'm home, it's over with, I've got my paycheck. Or we can think to ourselves, what good did I do in that job today? How did I uplift another person? Or what, if I'm inventing something or whatever it is, what will this do for other people? How will this enrich other people's lives? Or else it just becomes a 9-to-5 job. I've got my paycheck, I'm going to go home and forget about it. But if we really embrace that our life has meaning and it has purpose, and we are here to express not just us, we are here to express the glory of God as our life through our everyday living. Does everybody, are you with me with that one? It is such an important thing to think about. Unity's first two principles, we mentioned that. Staying in the present moment and keeping my thoughts high. In 1614, there was a man by the name of Brother Lawrence. To this day, if you look on Amazon, his book was, and he didn't write it because he didn't read or write, his book was called The Practice of the Presence of God. And I looked it up last night I've got the book, but I looked it up on Amazon, and it's one of the best sellers of all times. It's a tiny book. So we had this minister, he was not a minister, he was somebody that wanted so much to be a monk. He didn't even want to be a priest, just a monk. And he begged them, he'd come to the door and knock at the monastery. He couldn't read, he couldn't write, he was obese. And they said, we have no use for you here. Well, he kept begging, and they said, do you have anything you can bring? He said, well, I'm a cook. So they hired him as a cook, and also to go and buy the wine. Well, he couldn't, he was short, and his girth wouldn't allow him to walk by the big caskets of wine. He had to roll over them. And all he did was he did the dishes, he cleaned up, and later on he worked on people's shoes. That was it. But what the monks found, this man was different. He glowed. He absolutely glowed. And everything he did, he was joyful. So one day, the head monk called him in. He said, Brother Lawrence, what is your secret? Why do you do all these menial tasks every day, and you are so joyful? And Brother Lawrence said, I do it for the glory of God. And that's what we can do each and every day. Do we have to say, yes, I'm doing it for the glory of God? Perhaps that's not what we're going to say. But what Brother Lawrence said, what Ram Dass said, what Eckhart Tolle says, be here now. And when we are in the present awareness of what we're doing, that means, where do we find God? We find all of theologians throughout the centuries, you find God in one place, the present moment. God is the eternal now. There is no past. There is no past. So we don't have to go back and think of the 50,000 things we've done wrong. We don't have to go forward and think, oh my God, what will I do tomorrow? We become present in the moment with whatever we're doing. And if we're so inclined, which is such a beautiful practice, in the morning, we can say, and everything I do today, I do for the glory of God. And then to remind ourselves, because don't we forget so often? Years ago, a teacher of mine, Reverend Dr. Jones Stedman, used to say, whether you put it on your refrigerator or on your desk, put something there that every time you pass that, you are reminded to take a deep breath and become present in the moment. Present, because in our presence, that is where God is. We don't find God in all the yesterday. Of course, we plan for tomorrow. That's a given. Do we worry about tomorrow? Do we fret about tomorrow? We plan for tomorrow, and we trust that there is a power and a presence for good in this universe that will guide and direct our path, but only if we're in the present moment, because that's where this presence lives. So if that is a great practice if we're willing to do it. And the third thing is, not only do we stay in the present, but we recognize ourselves differently. The third principle of unity is basically change your thinking, change your life. How do we look at ourselves? How often do we beat ourselves up? Would I, could I, should have, oh my goodness. I had a personal story. I have a wonderful daughter-in-law, and I said something last night. I was talking to her, and she just froze, and I thought, oh, why did I say that? And it was nothing. It was really, and I got off the phone, and there it started. I shouldn't have done this, blah, blah, blah. And I thought, stop now. It was done with a good intention, and the universe will do what it will with it. There was no ill will, and she will feel that. And I had to forgive myself and move on. So remember who you are. There's no more beating ourselves up. I could have, I should have. No, remember that you are here by a divine appointment. There are no mistakes in this universe. There is one life, one activity taking place. And when we come into this world, we come in as little babies, of course. But there's also a soul within us. There's a higher purpose living right there, that soul. And it's up to us. And I know it's an old story, so don't tell me after church you've told the story. I know it's an old story. But it is so true about the baby, the parents that bring a new baby home, and the 2-year-old keeps saying, please, I just want to go talk to the baby. Well, this tiny little baby, and they were afraid, what if she tried to pick the baby up, blah, blah, blah. So finally, she was so persistent, they let her go in to the baby's room, but they cracked the door to make sure she wasn't going to pick that baby up. And what they heard her whisper was, please, tell me about God. I'm beginning to forget. And isn't that our challenge? We forget that there is a power and presence that's within us. Years ago, someone said to me, Dr. Alexis Rice, some of you know her, she pointed out to me a quality that I had that I didn't even know I had. And it changed my life in the way I looked at myself. So maybe you have a friend or someone to talk to, or maybe not. But each one of us are inspired. We each carry a quality with us that nobody else can express like we can. So how am I going to express that quality for good? How am I going to express that quality for God? How am I going to express that quality when the world is telling me everything's going to heck? Oh my gosh, I'll buy into it. No, we keep that high watch. Emma Curtis Hopkins, the great mystic, keep that high watch. Go above it. Because God's universe is completely different than the world. God's universe, the first order of the universe is divine order. And that everything happens on time and in time. The great astrophysicist Neil deGrasse Tyson says something so beautiful. He said, don't forget that each one of us are stardust. Isn't that, I just get the chills. That is so beautiful to me. And what they're talking about now is all of the atoms, all of the quarks, whatever it is. I'm not the scientist, but I know what I read. They just continue to circle around. And many people feel that those same atoms that were in Jesus are in us. The same atoms that were in Gandhi are in us. They're all there. How? But our job, we are human beings. We are spiritual beings having a human experience. Will I live in my humanity, or am I going to live in my spirituality and know the truth? And when I go back into this humanity about life and all the things I've done, and I'm going to remember, because I'm going to look on my refrigerator. I'm going to look somewhere that I have a point where I can say, nope, I'm coming right back into the present moment. I'm going to know that my life has meaning and purpose because there is a kaleidoscope of life going on. And each one of us, when we come in here, bring our own light to that particular part of us. We each have that light. We each have that glory of God within us. And when we decide to just check out and not recognize who we are, not recognizing a higher power, just live any way we want, that light doesn't go on. So that part of the kaleidoscope of life is not lit because we are not fulfilling our purpose. So it's not something, oh, Reverend Barbara said, I've got to fulfill my purpose, or God knows I may go to hell, except we don't believe in hell. That was, please don't say that to everybody ever again. But it is a mandate if we're open to it, or we can just slough by life. But it truly is a mandate if we are here at this time to be the place for God to express. Gandhi, let's start with Jesus. Jesus was a carpenter, and what did he teach? He taught love and he taught forgiveness, and the world never forgot. Now, he could have said all of his life, well, I'm just a carpenter. Oh, no. He came for a different purpose. Gandhi was a brilliant lawyer, and he was a challenging lawyer for those who met him in court. And one day he had a different awareness, and he knew he was there for the freedom of the Indian people from the British rule. That was underneath of what he was doing. Dr. King came into this world as a magnificent preacher, and I have to tell you, I had the privilege. There was a group of us at Morehouse College. We were receiving an award at one time, and I got the privilege to go to Ebenezer Baptist Church, and I got to see Dr. King's pulpit, and we got to go up and stand in Dr. King's pulpit. Can you imagine? I mean, free again, praise God Almighty, we're all free again. So beyond anything we are doing, if we can remember, yes, this is my vocation, but my true purpose in life is what I do with that vocation. How do I express the good? How do I express the presence of God? We may not want to say the presence of God. Call it whatever you want, the grand operational design, the universe, however you want to frame it. But what we know is there a power and a presence in this life. And I call it God. You can call it grand operational design. It doesn't matter as long as we recognize that and recognize that that power and that presence that is everywhere is my life. And it's your life. And it's up to us what we do with that life. And the more that we go underneath what we are doing and all of a sudden realize, gosh, I am here for good. What good can I do today? How can I uplift? How can I see a student that's very difficult, yet see the good in them? How can I look at a school and think, yes, but tomorrow's inside of that school? How can I look at whatever I'm doing? Somebody told me recently that they were having very major surgery. And the surgeon came in and knelt down, if you can believe this is the truth, and prayed with them first. So he was uplifting that whole surgery, He brought it to a different level. He was basically saying there's a divine physician here. Let's call that forth. So it's something to think about this week because it's a high and mighty calling to just look at yourself differently in the mirror in the morning and just think to yourself, yes, I am getting more wrinkles, or Reverend Doug's eyebrow is going up, or whatever's happened. But however, remember, I am here because I have been called here. My life has great meaning and great purpose. And what I just love to say, and you can phrase it any way you want, I am here for God. I am here for good, and I'm going to anchor that every single morning. I was listening to one of Reverend Michael Beckwith's songs on the way in, And the song was, and we graduated, we walked down the aisle to this song when I graduated ministerial school. It was called, I Walk in the Love of God. And that's where we walk this week. We walk in the love of God. We walk in gratitude and thanksgiving for our life. And we realize how magnificent our life is, not from ego, but from knowing that we have been divinely appointed from all time to be here now and to represent the presence and the good and the love, the peace of God that is ours to give. So let's take a deep breath as we walk in the love of God this week. And thank you. Let's take a deep breath. And so it is. Amen.